we're all set. It's shortly after 6 p.m. It's April 26th. This is a meeting of the Wolfeboro Budget Committee. And if you can join me in the pledge of allegiance, Tom Bell, if I can get you started off.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Precious.
Okay, the first item to deal with is number 3, and that's going to be appointments of the chair and vice chair. I'll take nominations for chair.
I make a motion to name John McDonald to be our chairman.
Second.
Thank you.
I move to nominate Bob Woolman as our chairman.
Don't we have to?
Do you have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay.
Just because.
Wait, we're already off to a bad start. There's a motion on the floor that was seconded first, so can we take a motion, I guess?
Well, you don't vote on it until you get all the nominees, right?
So I'm gonna have a motion that has 2 chairs. That doesn't make sense.
No, there's a motion for myself, and then there's a motion for Bob Loman, seconded by, made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Loman.
And there was a
I
seconded he seconded Bob's motion, is what I'm saying, so that motion was on the floor first. Shouldn't that be addressed first?
Well,
Yeah.
it's gonna, how we're gonna do, we have to do vote on 2 people.
We need to motion to vote for a chair first, to open up the motion.
I opened it by saying,
Jim?
You just say, are there any nominations for chair?
Yes.
I nominate him,
Yes.
I nominate
Yeah.
him, I nominate
And then you
him.
vote.
Now you have 3, and then you vote on
Then you
it.
vote. I think,
thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
Chairman,
O'Brien, go ahead.
yeah, I think procedure says you open it up for all nominees and then you vote.
Okay, which we've done.
Okay.
Anyone else nominated? Okay. I guess we'll do a vote. All those in favor of Bob Loman, please raise your hand. 2.
2.
All those in favor of John McDonald, raise your hand, please. 2. Bob, you voting?
I'm gonna abstain because we didn't have a discussion.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. We have one.
Are they abstaining?
There's 62.
Opposed.
2 votes from Mr. Loman, which were, Mr. Loman.
We don't vote for
We
change.
don't, I'm not saying that.
Those 2 didn't
Are we
vote.
supposed to
The
have?
second nomination, the nomination of John, is Bob Loman and Paul O'Brien abstaining or opposing?
Opposing.
There's supposed to be discussion.
No. Okay, nominations now open for vice chair. I nominate Bob Tuffer.
I nominate Mr. Loman.
I second Bob Tuffer.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have Mr. Tuffer. I nominated, seconded by Tom Bell. And Mr. O'Brien, nominate Mr. Loman. Seconded by Mr. Loman. Okay, all those in favor of Mr. Loman being vice chair, please raise your hand. 2, 3. All those in favor of Mr. Tuffer as vice chair, please raise your hand. 6. Mr. Tuffer has won 6 to 3.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, appointment of Budget Committee representative to the CIP. Mr. Loman, you want to do that again this year?
I'd be more than happy to, if so chosen.
Okay.
You want a motion on that?
Yeah.
I make a motion to nominate Bob Loman to be our CIP representative this year.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay. All those in favor of Mr. Loman, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ms. Gorman, for stepping up and doing that again this year. Assignment of time department for the 2024 budget process. Bob, if you just senior guy, what did you want to do this year?
I want to stick with the two I have. I have Parks and Recreation and General Government.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and it's a genuine question, what is the responsibility that we bear by taking on these assignments?
To meet with the department heads. You're not there to help them with their budget. You're just to inquire if there's any things that are going to be different that we can expect to find in the 2024 budget. You're not going to sit down and, okay, let's work out these salaries. What's going to do this, we're going to do that. That's not your responsibility. That's the department heads.
And how does the rest of the team, genuine question because I haven't really followed, how does the rest of this team learn about, I'm going to use you, Bob, because you volunteered for Parks and Rec. How do we learn about what you've learned in Parks and Rec? Do you brief this committee?
Yeah, we can add that if you want to add that on the agenda.
I was asking Bob, did you brief this committee?
Well, that's what we did last year. We had a meeting in September, and John asked us how we did with our assignments. And basically what I did, a couple of years ago, I suggested that, well, I have Parks and Rec, so my suggestion was that when the Board of Selectmen reviewed the departments in October, that when it was Parks and Rec's turn in the barrel, that I would go to the Select Board's meeting and just observe what they're doing with the Parks and Rec budget, because the town manager has already sent it to, he has already done the budget with the Parks and Rec director, and now in October, he hands the budget off to the Select Board. And I suggested that we attend the Select Board meetings in October when our department came up, and just observe the meetings, see if they made any changes, and then possibly, if necessary, confer with the department head to see if everything is okay with that person and can anything be done at our level. So that was my suggestion. John felt that maybe we shouldn't go personally, but they're on TV. I mean, we can watch them, and we could do it that way too.
Yeah.
But that is my view of what our responsibility is. It's pretty clear to me that it's out of our lane to team up with a department head to help them prepare our budget. I don't think that's our job, and I think it's pretty well spelled out by the New Hampshire Municipal Council in their paperwork.
Makes
So,
complete sense.
Tom, yes.
Paul, I would also add that throughout the budgeting year, you are also responsible to alert the budget committee if there's a divergence from the original budget proposed for whatever department it was. So in other words, if they seem to be overexpended, that would be a report to this group.
I think we do that as a team also.
Yeah.
And again, not to belabor that, but I think Casey does that too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have already sent Casey questions on 4 or 5 lines by email, and we'll, when we get to it, we'll probably discuss it.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. O'Brien, would that answer your question?
Yeah, I'll speak maybe with later on. I'm just gonna process it a little bit. Thanks.
Okay, so we've got a tough one, Parks and Rec. What's that? Okay, well, Mohammed, on the, you want to do public safety, the whole public safety thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do that again too.
You want to see a public safety,
Yeah.
Matt? Okay. Bob, can you do Parks and Rec? Okay. So in public safety, we've got Tom Bell, Matt, and Bob. Where do you want to go by?
I had done Libby in the past. Usually I had missed this meeting, so I got what was it.
Do you want to stay on Libby, or?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
That's fine. Not
How about
too
you,
much
Bob
heavy
Bowman?
lifting there.
Public Works again?
Okay. And Mr. O'Brien?
I'll gladly do Public Works, Parks and Rec,
Parks
General
and Rec is-
Government.
Parks and Rec is taken.
I'll do them all.
Okay, so we'll put you down for Public Works.
And Steve Johnson was on electric.
And I'll do electric.
Okay, now I'll do the library with Matt. I'll do the Living Museum with Brian. Bob and Tom, you want to do general government?
Yes.
Again? General government again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Two. I'll do the electric department with Mr. O'Brien. Okay, is that everybody?
I didn't hear anything from the water department yet.
I'll,
That's-
Oh, you're on,
That's what you want.
that's you're on that.
Okay,
on
yeah,
that.
I took the, they're all umbrella.
So you and Mr. O'Brien are on Public Works and Water and
water,
Sewer.
sewer.
Okay, okay.
Nobody wants finance and IT?
I'll do that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Then we'll stick that into the general government.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know whether this makes sense, but there's I don't know whether to call it a big push, but a big emphasis by the select board on water quality, Wolfeboro waters and things of that nature, which have a direct effect on public works and all that. Would it be out of bounds for me to volunteer to work on that as well?
You can volunteer to do that as a citizen. Right now, there's no request from the Board of Selectmen to have a member of the budget committee.
Oh, that's how it works? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've done that. Town manager report?
Just to give you a summary on some of our big projects which are underway. We are finishing up the commercial docks project. That I will be down there on May the 5th, working with the contracted engineer and the contractor on acceptance of that project. If you saw, I believe it was the last Board of Selectmen's meeting, we had an engineering firm come in to talk to us about the 2022 warrant about Port Wedland. That project, due to the scope, in order to capture the intent of the article, has significantly increased in costs. Board of Selectmen have directed the engineer to continue work, so I would anticipate seeing a warrant article coming in front of you this year. That original warrant article was for $430,000. Right now, we're looking at a project in the neighborhood of $1 million.
That's a water quality kind of thing?
That is a water quality issue
Thank you.
and roadside drainage. Barry has the Bridge Falls Path lighting out to bid right now. We're hopeful that that will be completed by the summer months, but that's in process. All the equipment is on site. As far as 2023 projects, excuse me, one more. Pop Whalen, we're finalizing that project right now. A few more items on the punch list, and then we'll be able to deliver a final cost of what that project is going to look like. 2023 projects, public safety building, we're working on final design right now. We have a couple more meetings scheduled this week.
They're anticipating breaking ground in the August to September timeframe. Sewer extensions on Varney and Forest Roads. We're hopeful to have the RFP out for that on April 28th, with construction to take place this summer. Water main replacement from Pickering Corner to Smith River Bridge. Stantec is working on the engineering. We're estimating a summer of 2024 construction timeframe. Fire truck lease purchase, that is signed and the order's been placed. Just to back up a little bit regarding the public safety building. We looked at the cash flow projections for the project, and what we are going to do is we're going to bond right now, but we're going to only bond half the project. Rationale behind it is if we receive grant funding, that's going to come off the bottom line. We go for a second round of grants, or second round of bonding. If we've received $1 million grant, that'll come off. So it hopefully will allow us to not bond the full amount.
Jim, if I can just stop you for a second, what grants are you pursuing for what agency?
The police department had pursued a couple. One of them was directly through Chris Pappas's office. I believe the fire chief has pursued several through Homeland Security, which would deal with outfitting of some offices, the EOC, and the generator to run the facility. And there was one other grant that the PD had applied for that I can't remember right off the top of my head.
What's the drop dead line on that, when you're gonna say, okay, we've got to bond this stuff? What's the date that you're gonna say, okay, we've got to go for the second half of the bonds, we didn't get any of these grants?
That would be in January timeframe.
Every 6 months we could do it, so it depends upon how much the spending is happening. They've got a projected payment schedule, so if
Yep.
they stay on track, that'll indicate when the end drop dead date is.
Do you know what the current rate is now for bonding?
No, we just put in the application. She hasn't given us any
Can I
tentative
have a
numbers.
related question? And if you're gonna delay the bond or kind of stop it, will the rate change, or does the rate, it would change?
The rate could change, but also if you take out 13 million and throw it in the bank, you're paying, interest on money you're not using.
Yeah,
So, and we may not need to take out the whole 13 million if we do get some grants.
yeah.
So,
John, I had a question.
Yes, go
Are
ahead.
you going through the bond bank, or
yes, New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank.
John,
you can't refinance it?
Go ahead,
They
Bob.
automatically will refinance if it drops to a certain level.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my question. So how do you do that? Are they bond anticipation notes?
No.
Or, and how are we going to pay? We're going to take it out of the operating budget for this year?
No, it's gonna be a bond, and it'll hit the tax rate in
The following year.
the following,
Oh, the final.
2024.
Yeah, and my other question, going back to Port Wedland, what if we incur any expenses this year for that, prior to, you're saying this is gonna go up to $1 million, this project? So are we going to be able to come up with funding this year? If you told, the select board told them to continue this project, so how are we gonna pay for it this year?
Yep. So we had raised and appropriated $430,000 for the purpose, to which we were to issue $231,000 through the state revolving loan fund, and we'll be receiving $199,000 in grant funding.
Okay, so that's,
So
that'll cover this year then?
Yeah,
Okay.
the engineering, it's not a huge number, so I think that's something that we can definitely absorb until we get to the state revolving loan fund for the bond.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving along. Sewer pump stations, that work, the engineers are taking place, the road work. We are going to bid on Green Street, I believe, next week. So that's in process. Mini excavator, I believe, is here. Municipal electric boat, I haven't had a chance to talk with Barry, but I know he's moving forward with it. So that's where we look for some of the major capital projects under this year's warrant. As we move forward into 2024, just a couple things that I'd like to paint some pictures for. We have an engineer working on a basis of design for the water treatment plant. Right now, the estimate on that project is about $6 million. So we'll see how we score on that grant and loan forgiveness program. As well, I believe next year we're going to have to look at putting money aside for the South Main Street State Project. Not 100% sure, but I'll have an answer for you once we get to a little closer. And then a couple of odd items that I just want you to be aware of as we move through the cycle. This year, we're going to have to do put money away for another reevaluation. We've struck that 60-ish percentile, so we need to go to reevaluation. And I believe I made it clear last year that it's time to come forward with another wage and benefit study. So that will be in the operating budget going forward. And one of the things I can sit here and tell you with some confidence is we're having difficulties attracting staff. So I don't know if it's the wage. I don't know if it's the climate in the community. I'm not sure what it is, but we are definitely having difficulty attracting staff.
Chairman? Ask a question?
Yeah.
Just a parenthetical, there's something on Channel 9 last night, Wakefield, just down the street, is now operating on 3 days a week, 4 days a week. They're having troubles as well. The basis of design study, Jim, so what is the problem you see that we need to deal with the water treatment plant that's driving the basis of design?
So it's my understanding that the building, the structures within the building, the concrete structures are beginning to experience significant spalling, which is leading to some failures of the concrete. The engineer's actively working on it, and they'll have something put together by June, so that when we get to CIP, we've got a real good idea. One of the things that I can say about this, the original project was between $10 and $11 million. That had about 4,800 square feet of office space and garage space, and we removed that in the interest of keeping the project palatable. However, in doing that, it may negatively impact us on loan forgiveness programs.
So just a follow-up if I could, so the basis of design is because the physical building, the physical plant is in need of some updating.
It's reached its life cycle.
Are we addressing anything around processing capacity of the facility? The ability to process more sewage, more water, more inflow?
So that's going to boil down to the basis of design. Now, I had a conversation with a couple select board members about this. It's interesting because you talk to a couple different engineers, you get a couple different numbers as to what our capacities are. Next Wednesday, the board will see the base study for the capacity. I haven't studied the document, so I couldn't answer it for you. But that will, as of next Wednesday, the base document will be available for viewing.
So it's not just the building, it will prospectively be could be the processing capacity of the plant?
Could be, I can't answer that question.
Okay, but it's on the table. Okay, thank you.
John, just to clarify, are you talking about wastewater or
Wastewater.
wastewater treatment plant? Okay, thank you.
Is that on the CIP right now?
I believe it was.
You know?
Yeah.
Or-
Yes.
Sorry? Is that on the CIP
Yes.
right now?
Yes.
Do you remember what you had shot for a date? Was it next year?
Oh, it's about 5 years out, isn't it?
It's
4 or 5?
it's about 5 years, 4 or 5 years out.
Yeah.
It's out there.
So we're not gonna do a warrant article for $6 million next year, are we?
I can't answer that question until I get the basis of design.
I think we started looking for it when Dave Ford was here. He had developed something and was trying to get some more of the grant money that was available at that time. But the answer was we couldn't do it all. That we just didn't have the staff and we just
Yeah.
couldn't do
Okay,
that
so
many things.
The taxpayer can look forward to next probably 2024, 25, possibly having $19 million in new debt we've got to pay off. Some of it will be the users of the water. I think the water system will pay some of it, won't they?
No, water system, the water system does itself. The sewer system is, all capital projects are on the taxpayer. The process and operating is on the users. And that's been that way for years. And we'll have to look at where we are when we see the CIP.
But I think John raised the question is, as I've watched the planning board, and I've watched people come before the planning board wanting to do more development work, the planning board is actively looking at ways of creating zones for development, and that's creating questions about our capacity for inflow. And I don't know how that all gets all sorted out, but we have a planning board going in that direction. We have a building may need to get dealt with. And that may come running before the town sooner rather than later. So this one we probably want to keep our collective eyes on.
Well, I think that you saw the vote, and all those warrant articles got voted down by 3-1. So
But that doesn't stop zoning by exception.
But that is, I think that is a clear sign of the public, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
And so as you as a budget committee or me as a board of selectmen hear that, the study that Jim's talking about, we need, because that will give some parameters for what capacity we have. And Jim and I had the discussion. My understanding, our treatment plant could take 600,000 gallons. He had heard 400,000 gallons, you know, so I need the study to figure out what it is. But, you know, we have over the last 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years put 150, 200 to hold the process together. In 2016, we got an award for the best process of a small treatment plant. So, you know, it may be something we can, in my mind, this is just one person, you might be able to kick down the road a little further too.
John?
Yes.
I'd also like to add to Paul's argument. I agree with what you're saying, Paul, and I also see an issue with our rapid infiltration basins. Right now, and I made this argument against this Warren article regarding extending the sewer district, but I feel the sewer district is maxed out. So right now the permit, or the permit that recently expired in December, stated that over the course of 365 days, we had to average 340,000 gallons a day being sent up, had to be sent or can be sent up to the rapid infiltration basins. On any given day, we can send 425,000 gallons up to the basins. However, we have to make up for that by shortages on the other end. So if you have a busy summer, you can send 425,000 gallons a day up to the rapid infiltration basins. But on your shoulder seasons, you have to reduce that. You have to come below that 325,000 gallons a day to balance out the number. So we're in a couple of years recently, we've sent in the area of 110 million gallons a year up there, and 340,000 gallons times 365 is 124 million gallons. So we're almost there, and there are things that are not done yet. I don't know if that assisted living in the building in the Taylor community is done. I don't know if that's online. And I constantly see big houses going up and lots, and there's another. Harriman Hill has another addition in the queue, and what you just mentioned is, our planning doesn't seem to be in the same lane as our sewer system. So I think Our single, our biggest liability in this town right now, financially, is our sewer district.
But
Water
that's
as
why
well.
the study is going on. That's what we're supposed to get that exact figure. And that's why I'm hoping to get that out, and Jim's hoping to get it out, because that will be exactly calculated on what we have, and that will give us a set figure that we can work on, and we'll know how close we are or how far we are.
I should add to this also that I did run this by Jim, and Jim, I think he responded that we were probably coming back with a new permit that might have, they might have raised the numbers a bit.
That is
So-
correct.
so for-
That's in
What? I'm
process.
sorry, I didn't hear that. Under what?
So the permit expired on December
Oh, a new permit,
27th.
that's all. I got that.
Yeah, and now the new permit might have numbers that have been raised a little bit over the current numbers, so.
Well, the reason I mentioned this, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, to belabor it. As a citizen, I met with Rod Dempsey, and I kind of spent a day, Jim knew about it, I got his permission to do it, I spent a day kind of learning water and sewer, picking up from where I left off a few years ago. And I'm not gonna trouble the committee with information, but it's clear, at least to me, that in sewer, you have inflow, processing, and outflow. And in those three buckets, there's stuff we need to think about, because we have potential capacity issues. In the water, we have beach ponds sending 120 million gallons out, and from what I remember, we're only putting 119 back in. So we have to think about that as well. We have a lot of stuff to go. So it's money. It's a lot of money that we're going to have to help this town think about.
Well, we have 40% of the town is on water and only 20% is on sewer, so you're absolutely right. When I started this, and Linda remembers this, we were losing about 50% of our water coming out of the water treatment plant. I think we might have got that into the mid-30s range, Linda, or maybe
The
pushing.
number it gets to me is that we're about 35% water loss.
Right, which is still not good, I mean,
15
it's,
to 20. 50, yeah.
No, we're up in the 30s now.
yeah.
And it's something we got to work on.
Yeah, but the water we can fix from within. If we have to go to a second treatment plant, we can do that probably in-house. If we have to go to a Plan B on a sewer, we're talking about a lot more millions of dollars than what we'd be allowed to bond by the state, or what they say is a good number.
So the chairman's question was right. Could this thing come at us sooner? And the answer is
Right.
it could.
No doubt about it.
But currently, as I said before, it's sitting at, I think, 2024 on the CIP.
What's next year?
25, excuse me.
25.
I thought it was 26. but
Yeah, I thought it was about 4 years.
But it's
So
out- it's out a
the
couple
one
years.
advantage that I will say to this is if you look at the debt schedule in the 28 timeframe, the debt in the sewer department drops off to nearly nothing. I don't have that debt schedule in front of me, but it drops from like $500,000 a year to literally $30,000 a year. So we're setting ourselves up in a good position to be able to accept that debt.
John, Jim, do you have anything else?
That sums it up. Well, one last item, the audit is actively taking place this week.
And I have something too I'd like to.
Go ahead, Bob.
So you addressed the revaluation, and I would hope that it would be in the operating budget. Is that your plan? Last time, it went out as a warrant article, and I think that was a big mistake. So you have, well, in 2010 and 2015, it went into the operating budget. 2020, it went out as a warrant article. And I don't see a benefit to that. So, but well, that's
You don't see a value putting it on the town warrant. You think it should be in the operating side?
absolutely.
It's a risk if you put it on the warrant article, because it could
Yeah,
fail.
you could.
Yeah. Now, if I'm correct, I would think in a default budget, it would say in a budget, if it's in the
Right.
operating budget. Correct? It's just something that's mandated?
I don't think so.
No.
You
because
you think you pull it out?
It's not contractual, it's a one-time thing.
But it's mandated by law. That wouldn't have anything to do with that?
I think it's mandated by law every 5 years, and we're doing it in the 4th year, if I'm correct.
I'd have to look at the law again, it might say sooner if they feel, but okay, so it might not, okay.
But we have discussed after this one, maybe we start a capital reserve fund and fund it every year. So then in the fifth year, you'd already have the 250,000 there.
Right. I have one other thing, getting back to the public safety building, a couple months before the vote, the Board of Selectmen appointed a young gentleman, Eli Roxby, to the Energy Committee, and Eli's an engineer, and he's worked quite a bit with my neighbor Nancy Hirschberg, who is currently writing 2 grants for solar panels on this building, I believe, and she's looking to actually get it done at no cost to the taxpayers. But when Eli arrived, we ran by the committee a couple of times of the possibility of adding solar panels at some point on the public safety building. I think it would be a great idea, and Nancy's been working very hard on these things. I think she has her eye on about 6 or 7 other buildings to put solar panels on. But just to put things in, quickly put things in perspective on this building, because Nancy and Cindy Scott, I think, was instrumental. They were instrumental in getting this HVA system in this building, which is basically a heat pump or multiple heat pumps. So I pulled out I went down to my archives in my basement and pulled out my 2015 budget book.
Wow.
And at the library in 2015, the electricity cost was $4,232. Heating oil was $16,483 for a total of $20,715. This year, with heat pumps, the electricity is $15,524. Heating oil is $0. We don't use heating oil in this building anymore, for a total of $15,524. So this building is 50% bigger than it was prior to the rehab. It was 10,000 feet. It's up to 15,000 feet right now, and we're using about 25% less in energy cost. So solar panels being added to this building and other buildings could actually save this town a bundle of money looking forward. And with all of this, well, they call it an Inflation Reduction Act, but it's more of a climate change battle act. With all of this available grant money out there, we could probably get this done for quite cheap and save a lot of money going forward. So,
John?
Thank you, Bob.
thank you.
Yeah.
The town's master plan, when did we wrap that up, 2019? Something like that? Town's
Yeah,
master
right.
plan, energy chapter, said that within 10 years, we'd have half of our town's energy coming from renewable resources. One of the things we probably want to think about is how are we doing getting there?
Municipal buildings, right? That's it. Okay.
Yeah. And so they're up, so how are we doing along that journey? Because you're exactly right. I mean, the upfront cost is what's really been a problem with solar, but the ongoing cost is not. So we probably want to learn more about how we're doing in our own town buildings.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set with you, Mr. Town Manager?
Yep.
2023 budget and expenditure report.
Recently, I gave the actual budget versus budget report to the Board of Selectmen for month ending March 2023. As you know, the voters voted most of the warrant articles, and the operating budget were approved. So some of our spending doesn't start until after March 14th. So the spending in front of you is a little light. It is coming in at 30.1, but that includes encumbrances, which is slightly above the 3-month average of 25%. General fund revenue is only at 3%, and that's because we haven't done the first big tax bill, which is the big driver of our revenue. Water is expended at 19%, electric at 27%, sewers at 73%. The reason that's so high is because we put in the whole wastewater treatment operation and maintenance contract for the full year. It's, again, not paid, but it is contractual, so we do a PO. And then Pop Whalen's at 56%, and that is being driven by an emergency repair to the compressor for about $39,000. I think that That is all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them. I will say to Bob, I did appreciate your email giving me your questions beforehand, so I'm ready to answer them unless we want to hear from anyone else first.
Is that your preference, is to have us send them in?
Yes, because in this case, I was able to reach out to two department heads
Thank
that really should be answering. I could have answered for them, but I'd rather have them answer.
Sure.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah, my only suggestion with that, Paul, and, you know, I'm really preaching to the choir here, but would be as not to send it to everybody, you know, send it, you know, just,
Right. No, I just wanted to understand what your protocol is. That's good.
What's the standard compressor? Is that an old one that we used to have, or what's the standard?
So there was a discussion early on in changing out the refrigerant system within the arena to what they call a cube system. That replacement was $750,000. Wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
The firm that services the equipment says, look, your compressors aren't in great shape, but they are working, and they are probably about halfway through their useful life cycle. What ended up occurring is the large compressor was not operating on all of its cylinders, which was making it highly inefficient, putting the stress onto the smaller compressor, to which point the larger compressor finally just failed. And we ended up having to rebuild that, and that was the $37,000 or whatever it was. If we didn't do the work on the arena, it's a cost we would have run into regardless. So that's kind of where that beast lies.
What's that, which one of those gonna be new? How much for a brand new, which we start saving for? Buying
So the goal would be to change out to this cube system in the future.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is the cube system, the current compressors have a high impact load. They start up and they have a huge draw, which would make solar inefficient to be able to operate. These cube systems are much more of a variable state drive, and they are able to operate on a solar, so you would see some benefits to that. However, it's $750,000. We're hopeful to get another 8 to 10 years out of these compressors.
Sucking money away someplace when we have to buy one of those things?
We'd love to, but right now, I don't see where we have the capacity to do it based on that being an enterprise fund, and that enterprise fund hopefully being able to make the amount of revenue to pay for itself at $400,000 a year.
That's what it's estimated they're gonna have to do, is $400,000.
For the operating costs,
Yeah.
that's what you guys approved this
Right.
year when they stood up on the floor.
How did they do so far this year?
So the public skate times, which we have the documents for, they did well. We don't have the complete picture yet because of the way that their billing system works, but it appears in 3 months, they made just shy of $110,000 in 3 months of operation. Now, that does not include the money from public skate, or the other fact would be that we're, when we go on the other end, we're gonna almost have 4 months of operation from September to
Right.
December. So, the numbers don't look bad right now for being able to achieve that. Additionally, they've been tasked with trying to create $30,000 worth of revenue in summer with pickleball is being played in there now.
By so much per person, or by the hour, or how does that work?
Pickleball, I don't remember. I think it's by the hour, by the person, but I can't remember right off the top of my head.
Okay,
John, question?
yes.
So it's a big investment, right? 6 million, 7 million, whatever, it was, big number. A lot of revenue drove a lot of cost, right? Promise of revenue to get some cost put in there. I think you say we're in good shape, but are we too early to say we're on plan? When can we say we're on plan to deliver the revenues against the costs that we had? Do you think
I would
6
say
months out?
after the 2023 audit.
After the audit?
After the 2023 audit, we will have a good idea as to what the operating expenses were for a full year,
Yep.
and we will have an idea of what the actual revenues were, and that audit
Only my
report will tell
personal
us.
opinion. Getting in the weeds of how you set prices and all of that, I just want to know that the voters got an offer that said, if you give me X dollars, I'll deliver a business plan. We gave them we gave ourselves the money, we're delivering on the business.
We're trying.
That's all I want to know.
We are trying.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, 2023 budget expenditure report. Anyone have opportunity to go through these, those documents, any questions?
I would like to address Bob's questions, if that's okay. He said legal expense is almost 64% expended. Will that be an ongoing problem this year? The budget's about $115,000. We've actually only spent $20,000, which is only 17%. We have an open PO for $53,000. We were under $28,000 under budget in '22, and $13,000 of what we've spent so far this year was money spent on the coalition collaboration. So the numbers are looking a little high, but the actual spend is only at 17%.
So seasonality is, I guess my question, again, on these 75 pages, what jumps off the page for you that we ought to be thinking and worried about?
Well, this is what's jumping off the
Yeah.
page at Bob, so I was just
Fuel and
addressing.
overtime was one, but what else? Anything else?
Well, can I finish his and then
Yeah,
we can? So his next line, he questioned was, police overtime is almost 36% expended. Are they missing an officer or two? I said yes, and then I had asked Captain Livy to answer that. He says, we have one open position and one officer in the police academy, leaving 2 open scheduled shifts that must be covered. One officer also was out of the office on light duty for 3 to 4 weeks, opening 3 shifts that needed to be covered on overtime. They have been working on controlling the overtime by having the captain and the lieutenant covering some of the day shifts so we don't get overtime expense. He does want to point out that the overtime line looks about $10,000 overspent, but if you look at the actual hourly wages, it's about $11,000 underspent.
Yeah, okay.
So it's washing itself out. Number 4, contract services at the wastewater treatment plant, $41,000 additional was paid to the engineer. Is that normal? Unfortunately, it was a contracted price. We haven't paid, we pay out monthly, but the increase came after the budget was submitted and approved. So it's unfortunate of the timing, but the contractor told us of the increase after.
And we will
Okay.
have that in October of this year, so that if there's any increase, it'll be in the budget.
Okay, thank you. And Captain, that line before, I was asking about that line 850 and then.
Oh, sorry, I jumped over that, sorry, yep.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I handle library a little different than it was handled in the past, but, so we do all their payroll and benefits, so all the 100s and 200s, the town keeps that budget. So if they have a $500,000 budget, we'll keep the money that's, we're gonna pay all the people out. All the other expenses from 300 on are operating expenses. We cut them one check and they run their own operating expenses. Every week she'll give me a journal entry, month, not week, telling me how much they spent, and then I allocate it up. So even though it looks like we spent 140 there, if you look, there's a negative 18. I put 18 up in the other buckets where they spent it after they told me what they spent it on.
Okay. All right.
Is that clear?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Sorry, I skipped that
that's
one. The next 2 questions are about revenue. Under the electric department, there's something called job work sales. Estimated revenue was at $10,000, and we've already received $67,000. You said must be a big job. Well, technically, it's a bad budget. So last year we had last year $192,000. So I did change that budget. With any enterprise funds, the expenses and the revenue have to be equal, so I just moved some of the things around in electric. But yeah, that I moved it up to $210,000. And then we just discussed, but I'll give a little more details. On the floor of deliberative session, the Pop Whalen department was increased by over $90,000, which brought it to the 402. So I have to have the revenues be at 402, whether it's aggressive or I think we won't hit it or whatever. It has to be equal. But the gentleman who increased the budget said they planned on having a targeted revenue of $448,000. So hopefully that's where we're headed. It's indicating, as Jim said, we're at 110 now. We got 100 coming from the town, and the next half of the skate season will be September through December. Hopefully we'll hit the
We'll
revenue.
hit that floor too, okay, good. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And to answer your question, Mr. O'Brien, there's nothing as of March that I need to point out. It's too early in the year. Everyone tries to contain their spending until we know if we're going into a default budget or not.
Yeah.
So March is not really a good
Yeah,
indicator.
it's too early, right?
I will tell you that over time, it's not overspent, but we had a lot of snow in February and March and a lot of cleanup. And so, that is something we'll probably have to address the fourth quarter of this year, is see if we need to, change some spending or do some transfers, but it'll depend upon how the next 3
And at the
quarters.
risk of handing out an ad person, meeting with Mr. Randall was a really pleasant experience.
I agree.
Focuses on water quality, focuses on budget, focuses on making sure that sand and salt are the right mix. Sounds like he's attacking the situation.
I agree. Yes, he's very focused on the financial management of it all too,
Sounds
which I
great.
appreciate. So are there any other questions that I could address at this time?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob.
Wait a minute, both of them.
Stop Bartlett.
Both of them went.
You got two thoughts?
Let Tony go first. It's a big question.
We'll let the
I
lady
just, I just have a couple of questions, those of us who haven't been here and haven't been
Sure.
able to see things. Is there a way to get the report with a quarter to date? Just because so many of our programs are seasonal,
Definitely not. This is, canned software.
there's no way to run a
No.
PTD?
No.
Okay, and then my other question is there a way when you email us, you can watermark it and send us a version in Excel with full-on watermark that can only go one way and can't come back in any other way?
That's beyond my expertise. I give it all to, I give a PDF to Amy, and Amy's the one who
Okay.
distributes it. I give it to Leanne. I can give it to you in Excel, but as far as watermark going one way,
Just so it doesn't get confused with the actual budget in any way.
no, I can give it all to you in Excel, but I
Okay.
can't
Okay.
watermark it. I know what watermarking is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it to the, yes, this software I can give you in Excel.
Are you concerned about somebody changing numbers?
Someone changing numbers and it getting confused
If
and
it's a
worked into.
PDF, you should not
I-
be able to.
But I don't want a PDF, I want it
You
in
want it in
Excel.
Excel.
It's easier to work with after having conversations to throw in what people are talking about.
Go ahead, Bob.
So can I just ask, so that's, one member is asking for that. Does all members want it, or am I only giving it to one member?
My understanding over the years, that we were never gonna get the budget in the form that could be changed, that we can change the numbers,
Okay.
because this is just, these guys can ask for that, we can vote on it.
Right,
but-
and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's always been that there were people who were afraid that it would get out, and then it would change, everything would be messed up.
Yeah.
so.
But you're only messing up what you're looking at. You're
Yeah.
not messing up my books.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and anybody can take it and query it any way they want and miss a whole
Yeah.
section, and that would be, on her.
Now,
So,
if you could do that for Bobby, that'd be great, everything.
is, okay.
You want
But,
me to make a
Does anyone
motion?
else want to have it with that?
but to your point, what did the past, now you're telling me the past,
What do you intend to do with it in an Excel format?
To be able to put notes and work with it, so I can easily go back and see what we've discussed. This way I can't, I can write all over it, but it's not gonna be the same thing 3 months out as we discuss it and things move.
but 3 months out, it's gonna be a whole different Excel spreadsheet.
That's right, but if we can't have quarterlies and look at things by season and we're only getting them by month and year to date, it makes it easier, so when I get it, I can just keep quarterly myself.
I have no objections, but there is risk. There's risk, so.
I would caution against it.
Bob?
I'm confused by Excel. I would prefer to stay
Oh, you'd still get it your way. I just
Oh,
didn't
okay.
know if in addition you wanted. And by Excel, it's really, I call it raw data. It's not pretty, it's not in columns and she's,
It
but
sounds
she,
like Bobby wants to manipulate the data, but to ensure that the data doesn't become a record that someone would say, oh, that's an official record. Bobby is saying, I want this somehow watermarked that says
Draft.
unofficial, not budget, not official. And I think the first part, which is the watermarking, you're saying that could be difficult to
In
do.
Excel?
The second part is sending an
In
Excel
Excel.
spreadsheet without the
I know you can do
watermarking.
it.
I probably would be against that too.
Okay.
You know, I'd probably say that,
Just know that even if Kathy learned how to do the watermark.
well, he says he can tell me, so.
Well, yeah, but it can be taken off.
Correct.
that's true.
It's not a PDF, it's
That's
an
right.
editable,
You can't block the
editable
fields.
document.
You can't
So-
block
Throw this in Adobe and put it in Excel.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fine.
Nobody else.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay,
So-
anything else for Casey?
Are you, no?
Yes?
Oh, well, no, is that a no to that?
She said she could.
Okay,
That's fine.
okay.
Okay, it's a procedural question, and it's really simple. Warrant articles.
Yeah.
I'm looking back here at 2018, and we've got a whole bunch of warrant articles here that are all zeroed out. I don't understand why they still stay on the record.
On the report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why do we have to keep looking at these warrant articles that, as far as I'm concerned, from a user point of view, they're done?
It's time. Clerically, I have not gone in and just
Okay,
deleted
all
them
right,
all.
that was my only, so there's no, I mean, if there's still activity, like the stuff encumbered, I'm looking at the library one for 2018, which is, I mean, the numbers add up to look like they're zero, they're 100% used because the encumbered equals what the prior year was, I don't.
That's just reserve. So it was encumbered in '22, and now we're just rolling it forward to '23, and hasn't been used yet, so it's just waiting to be used.
And they were directed that we need to get that off the books by December 31,
I guess
2023.
that's my point. I mean, we've got a lot of warrant articles back here that are zeroed out, town road upgrades. I mean, what are we doing with town road upgrades from 2020? I don't understand that concept.
Still doing it.
Is it zero across the whole line? Because I just haven't got, you know, I'm in the middle of an audit, and I'm trying to get '23 going and closing
Okay, all right,
'22,
all
so
right, so-
it's just clerically not
Okay,
done.
so it's not a procedural issue?
No, no. There are, if it has money in it,
Yeah,
it's
no, I
being carried
understand that.
forward.
There's still
Yep.
activity or
Nope.
money or encumbrances or whatever.
Yep.
I understand keeping it alive. It's just a matter of
Okay, thank you, Bob.
cleaning it up.
Yep.
You're gonna have some goals going out fairly soon for the department heads for the 2024 budget.
They say no.
Yeah, no, so the goals and the budget guidelines usually are adopted by the Board of Selectmen in the July timeframe, usually the second selectmen's meeting in July, that's when they get that. Before that, they'll get, I believe, CIP, middle of next month, I believe they get CIP.
So if we start the next meeting in sometime in July, towards the end, we should be able to get that information from you?
I would sit here with the utmost enthusiasm and stretch this conversation out as long as I possibly could, and said if you met between July 24th and July 28th, I would think that we would have the budget guidelines out to department heads at that time.
Oh, those goals. Okay, I'm sorry. Those-
Did I hear you say CIP middle of next month? I don't think so.
The Board of Selectmen
Yes, the guidelines.
puts the
Guidelines.
guidelines.
For next month.
The board, town manager suggests to the Board of Selectmen some of the goals, and then the Board
Yeah.
of Selectmen add to it or do something, and then probably the meeting after that, we finalize it. And then the department head gets the goal. But we don't, that's when they get to start working on it.
CIP will not meet until August.
Correct.
It's just the goals next month. that will be-
So that the department heads can start working on them.
Okay. You have me
I know.
nervous. Really nervous.
We moved everything up 2 months this year.
Okay, anything anything else for Casey or for the town manager? Okay, let's move on to other business. Everyone should have got advice about taking the training, harassment training. Anyone have any questions about that or comments? Can't wait.
I have a question on
Yes,
training,
ma'am.
just because we're doing the harassment. Is there a program within the town that there's training for 91As? So those of us can make sure that we're not breaking any rules.
The NHMA puts them out frequently. I don't know of one right now, but.
We can send, I think, they have a canned program that we
Yeah.
can send you, I
I think
believe.
there's one shortly coming up, as I recall, and Amy should be sending out a piece of paper that talks about how you don't circumvent the right to know, that didn't come out with the other, and I talked to her today, and it's one of the things that the Board of Selectmen has in their manual that like to send out to all boards, but I think there's a seminar. You should check with Amy too, I think it's.
Okay, that would be great. And then I have one more
Yep.
ask. Is there a way to get a town email, just so if someone does do a right to know or request, it's not going to my personal email?
Any right to know should come to me. And
No,
any-
but if,
What?
I'm talking about things going to my personal, like if we're asked, if we have a right to know, we're answering from a personal email instead of a town email with a right to know.
You're answering on behalf of yourself. You wouldn't be answering on behalf of the budget committee.
But
I
I
think
think your work with the budget committee, therefore,
You're right, somebody could do a right to know and say, I want all the emails from anybody on the budget committee that talked about this
An issue.
topic.
Oh.
And then they would have it, because we, the Board of Selectmen, have all gone to town emails. Prior to that, I had to take my computer to somebody to pull off
Yeah.
personal emails, so yes, that is true, that could happen.
so we can get a,
I don't know if you can get it, but that can happen.
But should they be having any business discussions in email?
I don't know.
I don't think you're supposed to, right?
The only discussions we have.
I'm talking about, you just received a request from Bob. That would be something that could be a right to know. What did he request from you? Now he's pulling it off of his personal email.
So can I just speak to this?
Go ahead.
I sent an email to the town manager asking him to look into it further. This has been asked in the past by other board members, members of other boards. The response was that they could not give every single member of every single board a town email. It has to do with, cost and licensing and the number of emails that are associated with the account that the town currently has. So what has been done by members is you can do one of two things. You can create either a new email, personal, and have everything about the town go to that, or you could just create a folder inside your personal email, and everything that is sent to you or you send out, BCC yourself, so you get it and then put it in the folder. So those have been the ways that it's been addressed. But due to licensing issues and cost, and that's been the past. Now, I don't know if it's been looked at recently, can't speak to that, but that has been looked at in the last 5 years, I know for a fact. That was the answer.
Yes, Tom.
Bobby, are you expecting a volume of requests from public to you personally for information about what goes on in the budget committee? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, requests happen, and having my private information out there is very different than acting
I mean,
as.
I have to say, I've been on the committee a number of years, I've never had the public ask me anything. So I'm not quite following your concern.
Frankly, it's a broader question. It's a much broader question. I respect the fact, Tom, that you probably haven't been asked many questions. That doesn't mean you won't. And I don't think that, I didn't hear Bobby say that there's gonna be a barrage of questions, but there could be.
So I can only speak.
We're
to
messing
my-
around with, and I use the word pejoratively, we are dealing with taxpayer money. we are dealing with conversations about how we would vote on things. Accidentally or on purpose, we could trigger a 91A request. This gets fixed, I think, by having a set of bylaws, and the chairman and I had a kind of a frank exchange the other night on email about that.
Kind of a disagreement, but.
Correct,
that's
yeah,
not-
correct, it was a disagreement. I firmly believe that this committee needs bylaws. There's an argument to be made, and if I misstate it, John, you correct me. John says they're not obligated by law to do that. Well, the only people who are obligated to have bylaws are people who involve themselves in land use. But if you read this document, the chair guide, and you read the New Hampshire municipal document, we're all encouraged to have a set of rules. And I'm particularly sensitive to that because this committee, at the end of the day, does have an effect on land use. Because we can change their budget. We can mess around with their budget. We can mess around with the selectmen's budget. So I'm gonna put a motion on the table, and I'd like, and if it's out of order, make it out of order after it's seconded, that the budget committee will implement code of conduct, ethic, and New Hampshire rules concerning disclosure and rules of procedure so as to maintain parity with the select board and other land use boards in the town. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay.
And for discussion, if I may, in our town, not only does the planning board, the zoning board have bylaws, and the select board, but every year their bylaws get a reflected comment, are we staying with the bylaws? The police commission has bylaws. If you look around at other towns, Conway, they have bylaws for their budget committee. So I'm not sure, and I'm not trying to diminish the importance, I'm not sure what the big deal is. I think we need to have rules of procedure or bylaws, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that we don't, by accident, do anything that's going to create a conflict with people's right to know.
I think, when you mention those boards, some of those boards are quasi-judicial boards, the zoning being one of them. And that's a whole different thing. This isn't a quasi-judicial board. So, I don't know, I think this is an overreach. But
So if I just caution, if we vote against it, then we're saying we don't need those.
John?
Yes.
I argue the point, Paul. I think this panel is unique in that the New Hampshire Municipal Association does a pretty good job of spelling out what we have to do in New Hampshire RSAs. And John and I spoke about this, and we see nothing in New Hampshire RSAs that would direct us to do this. And John's been on this committee for over 30 years. Everything is running along very well, and my attitude is if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
John,
Yes, sir.
I'd be curious to know what would go into these bylaws.
I would imagine anything the committee wanted to put in there. You could put in there, you missed 2 meetings, you're off the budget committee. You could put in there, you want to have the budget presented one day, and they don't come back, and you can put that in. You can do anything you want to put in there. And again, there's no statute that says the budget committee has to have bylaws or procedures. It's directed exclusively at the land use, anyone affected with land use. And it's kind of stretch if you can say because we take care of the budget for those departments, that's connected in land use. That to me is decisions made involving land or property. Those are the people that should have the bylaws, the procedures, because if I want to get my house changed from a 2-family to a 3-family, I go before the planning board, and there's rules that say, okay, within 15 days you've got to present this, within 10 days you've got to do this. If you want that in the budget committee, we can do that. We can require it to make people jump through hoops all they want to.
Just to follow, I'd be inclined to vote against this, because I don't, having been on this committee, I don't see an issue with this. And unless I saw a set of bylaws from other towns and as to why, and really understand why we would need this. What we're missing here without these bylaws, I'm just inclined to say, why do we need it? I'm not seeing something like in here.
Chair, can I
Yeah.
make a motion?
We have one.
We have one on the
over
table.
Oh,
here. Any more discussion?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I think that the motion bears some fruit. I'm not necessarily voting, I would not necessarily be pro or against it. I would like to see if, and I think, Matt, you brought up the point, are there other towns who have bylaws at their budget committees? If they are, can we get an idea of what those are so that we can make an intelligent decision? Because I think just sitting here and saying we can do all this jump through hoops business, I think it would be a great idea if we know of other towns who have bylaws for their budget committees to get a look at them and see if it's worth pursuing. I mean, to sit here and say no is, I think, a little bit self-serving.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Well,
The law, if there was a law that said it, I would agree with that, but the law is specific. That just a plan, and this applies to land use. The selectmen, I can see why they have bylaws, because they make decisions the same way, on giving out permits. Police commission, the same thing, they give out whatever permits they deal with, and they should have some, I've never seen the bylaws, have you seen them, Jim?
For the police commission?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I published them to you guys the other night. By the way, there's no law that says we have to have a budget committee in a town. But we have one because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing, in my view, it's the right thing to have a code of conduct. It's the right thing to have an ethics document. It's the right thing to have.
We haven't gotten to that yet, Paul.
It's the right, if I could, because I put it on my motion, it's the right thing to have bylaws. And if we don't think that's the right thing to do, maybe we go on a search, or maybe we just ask town council.
I disagree.
Huh?
I disagree with that. If it's not in the RSAs, you know, if we've been to several of these municipal association seminars, and they're pretty strict about things. You know, they pretty much tell you, if it ain't in the RSA, you don't do it. That's it. No, I wouldn't say it's the wrong thing to do if we don't do it, because it's not in the RSA. So, and things have been going along very well.
My experience in this committee has been that we make recommendations as to how we think money should be spent. We don't decide that. We recommend to voters, and voters make the decision. So we are not we're maybe influencing, but we are not making the final decision. So I believe that we're a committee that looks after the budget and just makes recommendations, but not decisions. I think a committee that makes the decisions and drives policy are the ones that need the bylaws.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for vote. Paul, just make sure I get this motion right. Motion is for the budget committee to set and establish bylaws and procedures.
The budget committee will immediately implement code of conduct, ethics, New Hampshire rules concerning disclosure, and rules of procedure documentation so as to maintain parity with the select board and ensure public trust. That's the motion.
Okay, did everyone,
John,
yes.
do we
Leanne,
have
you
those
want a copy?
documents in front of us? If we're gonna immediately implement them,
We're gonna, what I hope to do, what, coming up, we were gonna talk about these documents in a separate discussion.
do we have all three of those documents?
I don't believe so.
I have three documents.
Well, these are the two that I provided you. I don't know what Paul bought.
I sent those over to you the other night, John.
Before voting on implementing something, I'd like to see what it says. And have a chance to at least study it
Great idea.
some period of time.
John, would a motion to table fit the bill on this? And would it supersede this motion on the floor?
Tabling always supersedes the motion, the current motion.
Okay.
You can table.
Well, I was asking, I was thinking about Robert's rules of order on this.
Yeah.
Whether a motion.
Tabling motion always goes over the current motion, but there's no discussion on the tabling motion.
And that could be something you'd write in your rules of procedure. That's the kind of stuff in just laying down to new members. One of the things that it helps is if it's in writing. That's kind of all I
But
see.
then it locked in, any changes you want to make, we're locked into that.
Yeah.
Well, you just
So-
use Robert Rules of Procedure about what goes over what. It's
Well,
just.
that's what I've been using, Linda.
I'm
I've
just
been
saying,
using
it puts,
Robert's
I know you are, but it just puts it in writing, you have two new people to the board.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, that's what these other two things that you have coming out of the Board of Selectmen.
I take this, I've been on here for 35 years, I've never seen these before.
All right, but the Board
Okay,
is,
and let me finish, please. And you're making that, as a budget committee, look like we've been violating all these rules and these laws for the past 30 years.
the reason we sent these out was guidelines, because we had chairmen asking the Board of Selectmen, how do I be a chair? That's this piece. This piece was on ethics. It was part of what the Board of Selectmen put together in their selectmen's handbook. And then we decided to send it out to all the chairs as information. You know what? You don't, as far as I'm concerned, need to do anything with this. This is just information for the committee. It's not something you have to do. You don't have to do rules and procedures, but it was one of the ways that we felt that we could help new chairs and the committee itself, somebody new on a committee, understanding what the role of the chair was, and what we meant by being ethical and some accountability stuff. And this is information only. It
Which
is
we
not
should take
something.
seriously.
Huh?
We should take seriously.
Yeah, it is for you, but nobody's saying you have to do these. Let me do that, and it was something I think it was 2021, we put together a Board of Selectmen's handbook, so we would have a handbook to give to our new selectmen, and then we decided that, well, and I think this went out last year too, to give this as an informational pieces, and that if you as a committee chair want to use it, you can use it. So it's not in any way the Board of Selectmen telling anybody that they have to,
Because you can't.
we're not, that's not the purpose of it.
That's correct.
Okay, Bob, did you want to make a motion to table? Do you have a second?
I'd second it.
All those in favor of tabling Mr. O'Brien's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passes.
John?
Yes, sir.
Now, do we want to make a motion to specifically state what Matt wants? Matt, do you want to make a motion to,
I like things the way they are.
what do we do this for?
You can't do that.
No, if we're gonna vote on something be implemented immediately, I gotta know what I'm implementing.
Right.
I mean,
That's why we table.
or are we voting to create a subcommittee that will come forward with proposals on what we should do?
Vote on.
And then, you know, I mean, I can't, I'd have to study it. It sounds like pages, 3 different documents, and I look at this thing that says adopted April 7th, 2021 by the Board of Selectmen, so I would assume you can't tell us what. we're separate
That's just
entities
what I said to you,
under the
it's
statute, you
information.
know, there's an RSA that applies to our committee, but, so, we don't violate any of these, though, this is just common sense. You know, we do this, we're courteous to each other most of the time,
Most of the time, yeah.
you know? We always part as friends, I think, but.
So, so what do we do? Put this, what do you do? Put this on the
Mr.
agenda?
O'Brien can go and gather all the materials he wants.
See, that's to make busy work order, and I don't like that, respectfully. I think we have 3 choices. We can have a subcommittee, which Mr. Plash suggested. That means
I didn't suggest it, I'm just saying.
that means
it's a
there's
possibility.
collaboration here.
No, I just.
We can just turn it down.
We tabled your motion, so I would think at some point we have to address your motion, right? So I really just wanna know when. We gotta put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
You could let it die on the table.
Let it die on the table.
Then we'll have to do a vote to take it off the table.
So, John, could I just try to finish? I think there's three choices in front of us. Okay? Choice number one, actually four, let it die on the table. Choice number two, ask the lawyer. Choice number three, set up a little team. You know, assigning one person to do it, I just find is what I call in my world, throwing the book at the problem. Choice number four is we just vote to do it. Those are the four options. One of them, if you want to just let it die on the table, I guess it does.
That's my choice.
That's my thing.
So let's leave it alone.
Is it? John?
Yes, sir.
Jim, perhaps you know, is the municipal association still holding budget seminars?
Yes.
Yearly?
Okay.
I believe they are.
Yes.
I haven't seen.
You know, I attended one years ago.
Right.
I mean, I would think it would be good information to,
Typically, they're held in the fall, Brian,
yeah,
and I
if,
have let the budget committee members know in the past when they come up. I actually looked on NHNA's website the other day, and as usual, they're not yet scheduled because it's typically in September. So it won't be any different as how I handle it this year. As soon as I find the thing, I'll send the link out so
yeah,
people can
I,
register.
If we can get enough people to go to the thing, the budget training, I'll see if I can get them to come up here to Wolfeboro. And I would hope that maybe the selectmen, is it 8 hours, how long is it?
It's a one day.
It's a one day.
it was a
But it
one-day-
could also
Maybe the
be,
selectmen could buy lunch for all the people, all the attendees.
So,
it might be
Yeah, I mean, it's
as
great.
well.
Bob and I
Yeah.
went, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, we
It was
went a
always
couple
nice to-
times, right?
yeah, to
it's a-
go
it's-
give
So
them
we could
credit.
probably get,
Yeah.
we could probably get 15 to 20 people to come to it.
And it would probably make sense for the Board of Selectmen also to come. It's just great
So
information.
you're buying lunch, Linda?
It's a great
so
day.
food.
Personally,
No, what the selectmen is.
I can't act as one selectman, but I will take that back to the board and.
I will tell you that Steve Buckley came to Hudson, and we did have our own meeting there. And what's good about it is he tailored it to an SB2 community, which you are. If you go to the generic one, they talk about all different
Yeah.
communities, you know what I mean? So this is more focused on a Senate Bill 2 community.
Oh, God, if you can get them to come to us.
Yeah, well, I have a good relationship
Yeah.
with the municipal association. They come before my committee all the time, so.
And
I always-
they provide a great lunch.
They did, we had a great time.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
No alcohol
So do you need
drinks,
any
though.
assistance on reaching out? I have contacts also.
Yeah, I'm
or
gonna see them
You're
on
all set?
Thursday, so.
Okay.
that's good. Okay, since that other information is on the table, I want you to look at the code of ethics for committee members and commission members. Does anyone have any questions about that? I handed out to everybody, everyone should have one. Everyone understands what a conflict of interest is. We pretty much do all these things. Well, we do all of these things. We're respectful of each other. 99% of the time.
Yeah, right. I like that better.
We have up till this.
You get
Yeah,
that?
right.
In the past, we had. You like that, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'll do a motion to adopt the Code of Ethics for Board Committee Commission set by the Selectmen on 4/7/2021. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And you should see the municipal committee chair guide.
John, the only thing in this document, since we haven't decided on bylaws, the governance thing says the chair shall ensure the committee maintains a legally compliance with biological rules of procedure. So that doesn't apply to us.
Okay, I'll do a motion to strike the 2 paragraphs under governance. Second. I'm 100% sure that Amy's been doing all our postings, that our postings are done properly. I'm never aware of any complaints. Jim, have you heard any complaints about our postings?
No, but I believe,
Leanne, I'm sorry.
I believe Creative goes, yeah, across.
And your sucker shoulder patches.
Yeah, you haven't received any complaints with issues or anything, okay?
I think the minutes of the 5 business days, is that,
Yeah.
I don't think they need it, but
Yeah, they show it's unapproved, I believe.
Draft.
It should show it's unapproved. Draft, yes, unapproved.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I change them to approve. I revise them once you have approved them.
I remind you that you should not send a email to other members discussing any substantive topic that the committee acts upon.
And then you don't have to worry about having your
91 inch, yeah.
computer.
No sequential briefings, right?
Yeah,
No sequential briefings.
no emails
Yeah,
discussing it.
we pretty much discuss everything right here at our meetings. Okay, can I get a motion to accept the municipal committee chair guide excluding everything under governance?
So moved.
Any second, any discussion? Bob, yes, Bob, I'm
I'd like
sorry.
to just quickly
You
discuss.
gotta really yell, Bob, because I can't.
You just, so we just struck two of those paragraphs, which then if we want to take Paul's motion off the table and put it back on, we can if we strike out this governance section.
No, that'll go in a separate motion. Whatever Paul's motion is, will be what it is.
So if we're striking this governance section, it won't hurt future conversations?
No, because Paul's thing's a brand, if Paul's motion comes off the table, it's a brand new thing.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passes. Mr. Town Manager, does that fulfill most of your needs from your email to us, or to me?
Yeah, I mean, the only other item, I believe, that you have been contacted by Ms. Chamberlain regarding anti-harassment training. You know, it's just one of those items that's in place now going forward. You know, as somebody in this committee said, don't know why we need to do this, we do it anyways. Well, one bad apple creates a whole storm for a lot of people. I'm not saying that's what's going on, but what I am saying is we have to provide you with this training so that in the event something happens, you know what the process in town is to handle a harassment concern. I'm sure that it'll be entertaining. I'm sure that you'll get something out of it. And if you have been through training, provide that document to Michelle as long as it's current and in line with what she's put together through Primex. It'll most likely be accepted.
Jim? I'm trying to find out through Primex. I have that training, this is about 2 hours.
Yep.
I have that on, well, I've got a acquaintance that has that on a DVD or whatever you want to call it, stuff like that. And I should know, find out from Primex probably next week or so whether they'll accept that. Would you get a certificate if you attend that training, you watch that video?
I would check with Michelle, but I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, and I'm not sure, the only other stipulation is you would receive a copy of our anti-harassment policy and have to sign off on it, that you've received it.
Michelle will provide that. Any questions? Okay.
Yep.
So to piggyback on all that, Brian, Bobby, and Bob Wilman, I have not heard from if they can attend on Friday.
I didn't get the email until noon today.
I'm gonna send the email, okay.
I've already emailed back directly and got my confirmation at 11 o'clock on Friday.
Okay.
Will you be offering some evening training? just in
Yep,
case?
she said at the end of May, she's gonna try to pick a
Not like
date.
4th of July or
Including dinner.
No lunch, no dinner.
Memorial Day.
Dinner.
She said she's cheap.
Memorial Day.
So, and they're also looking into remote, Michelle said she was looking into remote.
That's, I think that's what you're talking about. I did it electronically before too.
Yeah.
But can you attend on Friday or not?
Told them I would, yeah.
11?
One.
1. And are you attending on that?
I think it's 11,
And
11 and
two.
1.
I think it's 2.
It's one.
11 to 1
Wait a minute.
and 2 to 4.
11 and 1, 2 to 4.
11 to 1 or 2 to 4. I don't want you to show up an hour early.
No, I've got to be at work earlier, so that works out
Did you get your
better.
question answered?
Okay, so,
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
John? You said 1. So, great idea on the anti-harassment training. The thing when I read the email, it's mandatory, and we should do this because it's the right thing. But you can't unelect somebody who's been elected, so how do you deal with somebody who's elected who says, I just don't want to do that?
Case-by-case basis.
Shame them.
Shame them, oh, I like that.
Shame,
them.
shame.
That's I'm going home.
Yeah, that's the only question I had about it. I mean, I'm not pushing back of the need, I'm sure there is. I was just, when I looked at that, I said, how do you say to somebody that the voters put in office, you have to go, what's the consequence of not? And I'm not asking for an answer, but that one I just had a question about.
Understood.
Thank you.
Put it in the bylaws.
I have a copy of Hudson's bylaws if you want me to send
Yeah,
it to
well,
you.
just, I've heard, Leanne, Alton, I think Alton has them, Conway's got them,
Kingston.
Kingston.
But I would say there's probably less that have them than don't.
Whatever. It's the right thing to do.
I can't say anything, I don't want to be accused of harassing you.
okay, we all set on any other business to deal with? Hopefully I'll get into the swing of things. Bobby?
I had one more thing I wanted to talk about, before you get to public comment and your approval of minutes. Other business is possibly, is there a way to move public comment up to the beginning? I know as a citizen showing up and having to sit through a meeting and your public comment that you would like to provide for a meeting after people have voted on those issues really don't help in any way.
Okay,
So
is that a
I'm
motion?
wondering if we can move public comment up to the
Is that gonna be a
beginning.
motion? Public
I'll
comment?
make it.
Okay,
Second?
any discussion? All those in favor of moving public comments to after the Pledge of Allegiance? Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good idea, Bobby, thank
Good
you.
idea.
Will you maintain one at the end as well?
Make that a motion.
You just said.
I know.
We gotta keep it at the end, because we may get questions about
Correct.
Right.
the budget.
Right.
Let's hope we have
So
people show up.
bad,
You know? Well, once you start talking about $6 million, I think some folks will come around.
We don't need a motion because we already do that, is
Yeah.
that right?
Thank you, Paul, yeah. Anything else, Bobby? Anything else? Thank you.
They are.
Any, any chance that we can move budget committee meetings to live stream?
Not here, no.
No.
Any chance we can move the budget committee meeting to a place where it can live stream?
The only place I know as of right now is the Great Hall, and it has been this committee's decision to have the meetings here because the acoustics are not the greatest at the Great Hall, and there's difficulty with
Can't hear anything.
the public hearing the members and the members hearing each other. So
Is
typically.
there any other place in town other than town hall where we can have a budget committee and live stream?
Probably somewhere at the high school, because you can pay for it.
Paul O'Brien's house?
I just,
Can we rent your basement?
we could, and not to be disrespectful, I mean, this doesn't feel right.
We came over here because John Bird had a problem hearing.
It wasn't just John Bird, it was
So
several.
do I.
So do I.
Yeah.
It was several members.
What'd you say?
Town hall.
We're gonna raise your budget
In addition to
Fix
the
that
public,
I'm
also
sorry.
expressed.
I didn't hear a thing.
once and for all.
Not less than one.
You got a question?
I'd like to see the police commissioner start meeting on the evenings instead
Why
of
does it seem
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
not right? So, no.
Okay, so, Anything else?
Any chance that we could have a standing agenda item, even if we don't do it, that, if someone's met with, as an example, Bob or I, or somebody has met with a town department, it's a standing agenda item, any department updates?
It is a standing agenda item. It wasn't on this one.
Because we're doing it,
We
okay,
assigned
all right.
to the
So it's a standing agenda item?
Yes, it
Good,
is.
I apologize, thank you.
I'm surprised you forgot that after being on the committee a couple of years, a few years back.
I haven't been on the budget committee ever.
You were the
You were the
representative.
representative for the
Thank you.
Board of Selectmen.
Oh, look, see, we don't.
Oh, that doesn't count?
That
No.
doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
Okay.
We don't pay attention.
Okay, folks, is that it for,
Exactly.
other business?
One quick question.
Yes.
Leanne,
Mike,
what's the venue for the harassment training?
Abernathy.
Excuse me, Mr. Selectman, we're not done yet.
Are you,
Sit down.
you still have a minute, unless you need to leave,
Yeah.
I'm not voting on minutes, I can't.
Okay, so you're gonna, that's fine, I'll log you out.
So is when we do that.
Okay, the first thing we're gonna look at is the non-public minutes from, November 3rd, 2022. If anyone has any changes, we're gonna have to go to non-public. If anyone has any changes, are there any changes that anybody wants to make to these?
Can I just ask for one change on the agenda? You didn't have the year, November 3rd, there's no year there, but just for your permanent record.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anybody who wants, I have not seen the minutes, I wasn't in non-public, so if you guys want to talk about it, I'll leave the room.
No, we'll have to do more than you just leaving the room. Shut the TV off, and a few other things. Okay, can I get a motion to, accept the minutes of November 30th, 2022?
So moved.
And a second. Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of November 30th, 2022, please say aye.
Abstain.
Okay, now I need a motion to seal the minutes of November 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second, okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay.
All right, I will need those back, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, I ate mine.
Thank you.
The minutes
Tom, did you just say you ate it?
Yes.
That's why we need rules and
Okay,
procedures.
next minutes we're gonna consider are the minutes of January 5th, 2023. Anybody have any changes to those minutes?
Well, what's the date again, John?
January 5th.
January 5th, 2023.
I got nothing.
Okay, motion to, accept the minutes as written.
Something is read.
Read, second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 5th, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. January 10th, 2023. Any changes or questions about those minutes? Seeing none, hearing none, can I motion to accept them as written?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes of January 10th, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
January 11th, 2023. Any changes to those minutes?
Nope.
Any motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 11th, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
January 17th.
I had a question on that.
Huh?
I had a question on the 17th.
Go ahead.
Oh, on the
In the-
7th.
On the
17th.
motion,
Yeah, we're on the
on the 17th. In the motion, it was moved by John McDonald and seconded by Tom Bell to not reconsider the committee's vote.
Not consider it. I need to
Wait,
look at
hold
it.
on.
And I thought we did reconsider the committee's vote, hence the rest of the minutes.
Oh, right.
So I
Yeah,
would make, I
That's
would
the-
ask that we remove the not.
Yeah, that's the meeting when we
so page 1.
looked at the SRO, correct?
Good catch.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good catch, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Sarah.
Otherwise, I didn't have any other
Okay.
comments.
Any other changes?
Nope.
Okay, need a motion to approve the minutes with the change of removing, seconded by Tom
Make a
Bell,
motion.
reconsider. Okay, and second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 17th, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, February 7th, 2023. Any changes or corrections need to be made in those minutes? Nope. Okay, can I get a motion to accept those minutes? Second. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, motion is to approve the February 7th, 2023 minutes of the budget committee. All those, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's all of the minutes. Public comment. Leanne's gonna, what have we got for some dates, Leanne? If people wanna check their phones to see if they're gonna be available?
We will be meeting, the next meeting, will be in August, in the beginning of August, which, so if we meet in August, the Board of Selectmen meet on so the first week of August, Tuesday is, the only available day would be the 3rd, which is a Thursday. And the second week of August would be 8th, 9th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8th, 9th, or 10th, I believe.
Okay, does the third work for anybody? Is that an issue for anybody? The third? Does that work for everybody?
6 PM?
Yes.
In August?
And Jim, you'll have the, you should have all the stuff from the selectmen? Because that's like actually giving you another week to gather your
The
information.
guidelines.
The guidelines, you know, for the
It will not be a problem.
2024 budget.
I'll try to go on vacation that week, just so that I don't have to come to this meeting.
You've been working almost 3 weeks in a row, you want to do for vacation, I think.
Oh, did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Especially with baseball season.
And I'm hopeful that my wife did as well. Oh, it's not live.
For the future, we'll give you some
Oh, it's
other
not live, don't worry about it.
The only thing I can say
What's on next after that?
And you haven't been here continuously, but I won't be able anyway.
Sorry.
We gotta schedule a June date too.
I'm sorry, I forgot, June's actually the next month we meet.
Yeah.
We meet every 2 months in
months.
the off-season. Sorry. So June, August,
So I gotta schedule another vacation.
yes. Yes.
Getting tougher.
So this one, I would recommend probably, the first couple weeks is really busy with the
Yeah,
planning board, board of selectmen, ZBA, and I think, does the police commission still, meet on the 3rd Thursday?
I think so.
Yeah, so if we can maybe do it like the week of the 19th or the week of the 20th,
yeah, the
You got a
19th.
date, Dave?
actually, that's right before the 4th of July. Let's do the week of the 19th if possible,
June,
no?
Yeah, that's,
June? What's that?
traveling.
that's almost like a week before, so everyone would probably be,
Over there, then,
yeah.
What about June 27th?
You told me.
Tuesday, June 27th?
I'm unavailable. What would your subject matter be? I mean,
It's just like this, it's a rinse and repeat.
I won't be available.
Yeah, and understand that your budget report that you will receive will be
A month
aged.
before, right.
Yeah.
That's usually the case
Okay,
anyways.
yeah. I just can't make it,
So
but,
that week is out?
no.
No, the police commission meets on the 15th.
Doesn't have to revolve around me. I can miss
We
one.
wanted to.
Does it have to be a Thursday?
22nd.
I'm out that whole week.
Is anyone going away for 4th of July?
Well, the 27th is the week before, a whole week before the 4th of July. The 4th is on a new week.
Right.
So is anybody available on the 12th?
Yeah, Brian's pretty busy,
On the Brian is going to be busy all summer.
you know.
Well, we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. 26th or.
Monday the 26th?
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Again, I'm not here that whole week, so.
Right,
okay.
so what I would recommend and ask is that if people have questions, I would get the monthly report out. If people have questions that would like answers for that, please email Kathy directly and have your answers before since she won't be at that meeting.
Fair enough.
So
And
what
you said
date
the
have we settled on?
26th, 6 PM.
Monday, June 26th.
6 PM.
Wait, what? Oh, okay, sorry. Nothing, go.
At the library.
Monday,
Monday,
6
June
to
26th.
6.
Non-live
Oh,
stream.
do you want to schedule October?
6
right now?
to
Is that
6
too
at
late?
6.
Something going on in September.
No, we're gonna meet in October, and then we
No,
actually
Casey.
start our budget review in November.
Yeah.
So it's probably better to meet in October.
Yeah.
Every time
we'll
we
have
meet in
the schedule.
September,
I
we
just
have to
wanna
meet
give-
again.
Yeah, I just want to give everyone the schedule so they'll know this is
I
what the
already
schedule.
have it
You
prepared.
got it all, okay.
Oh, I've got it prepared.
Okay, good.
So I can send it out.
Okay, so that works for everybody? I want to welcome, I forgot to do this, Bobby Butler as a new member. Congratulations, and Paul O'Brien
Thanks,
as
sir.
a member.
Okay.
Pretty easy going group.
Yep.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
I would just like to make a comment on what Leanne just said. I think what Bob does is when he emailed me the questions, he also courtesy copied the chair and Jim. So not everyone got it, but I thought that was respectful, so Jim also knows and John knows what you were asking.
Yeah, and I think I'm staying within the 91A guidelines because.
You're coming to
it's
staff,
not good
that's
news
fine.
to Send it out to
Yeah.
everybody.
You're not BCCing anybody, you're just having a
Yeah.
conversation.
Right.
It wasn't even a conversation, it was just one way. I didn't answer you
Right.
back.
Well, he's my chair, he should know.
Yeah,
What do
exactly.
you think that an honest start date on the PD is gonna be, the PD in the fire? Any idea?
August, September timeframe.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
When they're gonna start break ground on the
Oh,
station, the fire
oh.
station?
August, September?
Answers your questions, I wanna make sure we're all ready
Correct.
to answer.
You guys would have like a gold
Show me
shovel
that's the meeting.
and, you know, like a little.
Yeah,
Silver.
So the person who.
Silver.
answered
Silver.
then-
Silver.
For firefighting.
So
Little.
bullets.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe a shovel.
I'll second it.
Now you know what
Okay,
it
folks,
is.
it's a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.